In 1991, the Andrea Doria had been on the bottom for 35 years. It was largely intact, so everybody diving the Andrea Doria would start right here with a set of the deck plans. And quite literally, we could navigate the wreck by using these deck plans. I wanted to get into the first class kitchen. I'd been there on my previous dive. Now I'm going in with a video camera. And I'm starting out where the red X is. That's where the anchor line was tied off. And my very specific dive plan was to travel down the promenade deck. I'm going to drop in through a doorway, head aft just a little bit, go into a stairwell, travel horizontally down that stairwell, which would drop me past the upper deck and then onto the foyer deck. So here I am. I'm checking my time, checking my depth, checking my gas supply before I orient myself, and I drop down through the doorway on the promenade deck that takes me inside the wreck. And of course, I'm entering the overhead environment. John Hulbert and I, the previous year, had started to work on various ideas for ways to explore areas within the wreck that nobody'd been to. And one of the ideas that we came up with was using the stairwells as a means to get to decks and areas of the wreck where nobody had ever been before. And the problem with using the stairwells, and the reason people hadn't been doing it before this time, was because they were confusing. You can see as you look at the stairs, one side would have been the tread and the other side is the underside. One set of stairs is going one way, one set of stairs is going the other way. It's very confusing. And of course, you have to come in and exit the same way. Here, I've just set a strobe light in the corner. The strobe light's firing. I've got it on the back side, so I'm going to see it as I'm coming out. And here, I don't swim 20 feet. And I've gone from the promenade deck completely past the upper deck, and now I'm on the foyer deck. Now on the foyer deck, I don't have very many options for direct exit from the wreck itself. I can either go aft to where we burned the hole into third class the previous year, or I can go all the way forward to where Peter Gimbel ripped off the first class foyer doors. Either of those two options is way far away. So I want to make sure to come out the way that I came in through this stairwell. And of course, I mark it with my super Q light. Now that I'm on the foyer deck, okay, I'm going to exit the stairwell. I'm going to come out underneath the revolving door. I'm going to go through the service corridor in the first class kitchen. I'm going to get to the back vertical corridor. I'm going to drop down because there's a silverware room there. And I want to shoot video of the silverware room. Then I'm going to come up and I'm going to come into the room directly above the corridor that I come in. So here I'm checking the depth on my depth gauge. That gives me the exact depth where I place my light. So as I'm coming back out, I have a much better idea how to locate that light. Now the revolving door is deteriorated. The only thing left is this spindle. But this would have been the way that waiters and kitchen staff would have come out into the dining room area, to the second class dining. And here I'm swimming into the wreck or into the kitchen area. I'm swimming over a corridor going straight down. And now I'm in this narrow service corridor. I'm swimming over some debris here. You can see some more debris off to the left, and that's come from this hole in the overhead. So of course I want to give a check up there, make sure that there's not any loose debris ready to fall on me or enough stuff to fall out to block my path on the way out. And to the left-hand side, I've got a little bit more debris than I do on the right. That's from the way that the wreck sank. But I don't have much room between my chest and the silt, and I don't have much in the way of room over my tank. So I'm trying to get through here as efficiently as possible, like a little church mouse, trying not to disturb anything. Now I've gotten to that back corridor which drops down. And you can see there's debris. There's a couple of trays and shelving and tables and stuff that's blocking the way. So rather than try and move any of that stuff, what I'm going to do is just kind of slip down between it. And I want to get down and videotape that silverware room. And you can see on the side of this tray, there's a bunch of upturned bowls. And those are silver plated. They're first class bowls. They're very nice bowls. Some of them were sugar bowls, regular bowls, dessert bowls. And now I'm getting to the silverware room. And as I get the camera in there, right in the center of the screen, you see one of those nice Andrea Doria acorn lamps. And it's like a globe-style lamp, and was used for deck lighting and in service areas like the kitchen. And you can see the trays where the silverware would have been segregated. And this is a very silty room. And then you're going to see to the left another area where they probably would have washed silverware or run the sink there, clean things before they sent it out to prepare the tables. This particular silverware room didn't have a lot in it other than a big pile of silt. I'm checking my depth here. I'm at about 221 feet, according to my dive log, and 221 feet on air. And of course, we've got all kinds of entanglements and stuff like that on the way back up. It's very easy to get disoriented in here. So again, when I talked about the deck plans being very important, you not only had to know the deck plans, you had to be able to recall the deck plans at 220 feet of water. So here, this is the corridor where I came in. I didn't drop a strobe light here when I dropped down. I'm putting one here now before I go further. I'm also looking at my way out here, and it's pretty silty. But I get my strobe in there. The strobe is firing good. There it is. And I go up above. And, of course, there's a lot of, more debris and a lot of loose debris, too. But what I want to do is kind of, with the camera, get an idea. And I'm trying to, get 360 degrees. And that never seems to work. But if you look at the debris on this ledge, you'll see a bunch of artifacts, bowls, bottles, teapots, all sorts of things that are just sitting there. And again, this is my second dive in this area. I came in on a reconnaissance dive, my previous dive. Now I come back with my camera. Last thing I want to do is start picking up artifacts. You can see here just one kick of my fin, and all of a sudden there's a big ball of silt that comes up. But the thing I really wanted to videotape, I wasn't sure if I saw it or not on my first dive, an amazing room full of first-class serviceware. This is platters, plates, bowls, casseroles, trays, gravy boats. You can see the rack in the overhead has got a bunch of platters in it. Around the corner, there's a stack that must have had 300 first-class dishes in it. This is it. And, of course, all this stuff, and what do I pick up? One piece of broken china. But, this is a pretty amazing area. And, of course, a place that I came back to, many times after this. But and there's a gravy boat that I pick up. But this is an area deep within the wreck, and certainly trying to grab a big bag of artifacts and then drag them out was no easy feat, simply because of the silt and the route that you had to navigate. But at the same time, here I'm coming back to the corridor. to make my way out, I can see the strobe light, and that also, makes me feel good. When on the way in, you're very slow and methodical. Of course, you're paying attention to where you're going. You're paying attention to immediate hazards. You want to make sure you're not walking underneath or swimming underneath something in the overhead that's dangerous. And I'm recognizing all my waypoints here. There's the basket, and I'm going to come up on that pot. These are all the things that I saw on the way in. Even though the visibility stirred up, it's not stirred up, that bad. It's not absolute zero visibility. There's that overhead, that opening where some of the debris had already spilled out. And then I'm coming back. I'm going to see that final piece of debris before the corridor that drops down. Then I'm going to make my way out past the spindle to the stairway. And on dives like this, you have to formulate a very specific plan, and then you have to follow the plan. To stop and decide you're going to take artifacts or you're going to deviate from the plan in some way really doesn't work because of the depth, because of narcosis. Deep divers on air, and certainly virtually all of the divers who were diving the Andrea Doria in 1991 were on air. There were a few guys experimenting with gas. But it was important to formulate a plan, stick to that plan, and that really was the only way you could minimize the inherent risk of an overhead environment. As I'm coming out now, you can see I'm navigating through the stairwell. I'm in the center of the stairs. And you can see on the right-hand side, there's my strobe light that I set only, 10 minutes ago, and it's not working. So I set the strobe light there. It was working while I was inside the wreck. Now it's not working. So as much as we like to use devices for aids to navigation, you can't really rely on them. They sometimes let you down. And of course now I'm working my way out from underneath the stairwell. When you're inside the wreck, you don't necessarily realize how dark it is. When you're coming in, you think it's dark. But as you exit the wreck and you look up and you see the light coming in to the promenade deck through the promenade windows, it always makes you feel really great. You know you're outside the wreck. You're making your way along, and of course here I've got the teak decking on the right-hand side. I've got the steel structure on the left-hand side, so I know I'm heading aft, which is where we tied in. So I'm oriented in the promenade here. 1991 was such a fun time to be in diving. So many new things were just starting. Guys were starting to dive helium on wrecks like the Andrea Doria. Technical diving was about to be born. And of course, only 2 months after I shot this video, we would discover a mystery German U-boat.